everybody. My name is Erica Cameron, and I write books for teens. But I've always loved stories. I've always wanted to read and collect as many stories as I could, which clearly I still tend to do. But today I wanted to share a very special book. It's one that my mom used to read to me and my sisters when we were little, and so I've loved it for a long time. It's written by Jay Williams and illustrated by Mercer Mayer, and it's called Everyone Knows What a Dragon Looks Like. The city of Wu was perched on a hill between two mountains. On one side of it were the great plains of the north where the Wild Horsemen lived. On the other side was the land of China. A lad named Han was the gate sweeper of the city. He had no mother or father, and he was very poor. He lived in a tiny hut next to the gate, and his job was to sweep the road that ran through the gate. For this, he was given 1 bowl of rice and 1 cup of wine every day. But that was all that he had. He was cheerful, though, kind-hearted and friendly, and when he swept the road he whistled. Everyone who went in or out of the city had a merry word from him, for that was all he had to give. One day, a messenger came racing along the road from the north. He said to Han, "Take me to the ruler of the city." Han led him to the palace of the Mandarin, the great lord whose name was Jade Tiger. The messenger cried, "Beware! The Wild Horsemen of the north are coming, a great army of them. They mean to destroy the city of Wu and bring war to the land of China." The Mandarin stroked his beard. Then he called together his counselors. They were the leader of the merchants, the captain of the army, the wisest of the wise men, and the chief of the workmen. "What shall we do?" asked the Mandarin. "There are 4 things we can do," answered the wise man. "First, we can fight." "Our army is small," said the captain. "They know how to shout loudly, how to make threatening leaps, and they know how to wave their swords in the bravest possible way. But they don't know much about fighting." "Well, then, secondly, we can run away from the city," said the wise man. "If we run into the land of China, the emperor will cut off our heads," said the leader of the merchants. "Thirdly," said the wise man, "we can surrender." "If we surrender, the Wild Horsemen will cut off our heads," remarked the chief workman. "What is the 4th thing?" asked the Mandarin. The wise man shrugged. "We can pray to the great cloud dragon to help us." "That seems most practical," said the Mandarin. So the gongs were beaten, and the smoke of sweet incense rose up while everyone in the city prayed. The next morning, as Han was sweeping the road under the gate, a small fat man came walking up the hill. He had a long white beard and a shiny bald head, and he leaned on a long staff. "Good morning," he said. Han bowed. "I hope your honorable stomach is happy, sir," he replied politely. "Will you take me to the ruler of the city?" said the little fat man. "I'll take you to him," said Han, "but he is very busy this morning. We are expecting the enemy, and the Mandarin is praying to the great cloud dragon for help." "I know," said the little man. "I am a dragon." Han opened his eyes very wide. "You don't look like one," he said. "How do you know?" asked the little man. "Have you ever seen one?" "No," said Han. "Now that you mention it, I haven't." Well then," said Han. "Please come this way, honorable dragon." He led the little fat man to the palace. There sat the Mandarin with his counselors. They'd just finished a huge bowl of rice and 6 dozen duck eggs for breakfast, and they were drinking their tea. The Mandarin looked at the little fat man with a frown. "Who is this person, and why have you brought him here?" he asked Han. "Sir," said Han, "he is a dragon." "Don't be ridiculous," said the Mandarin. "He's a fat man who is tracking dirt on my fine carpets. What do you want here, old man?" "I have come to help you," said the little fat man. "But if you want a dragon to help you, you must treat him with courtesy. I have come a long, weary way. Give me something to eat and something to drink, and speak to me politely, and I will save the city." "Now look here," said the Mandarin. "Everybody knows what dragons look like. They are proud lords of the sky. They wear gold and purple silk. They look like mandarins." "How do you know?" asked the little man. "Have you ever seen one?" "Certainly not," said the Mandarin. "But everybody knows what they look like. Isn't that true, Captain?" The captain of the army sat up straight, brushing grains of rice from his uniform. Not at all, said he. Everybody knows that dragons are fierce and brave like warriors. The sight of them is like the sound of trumpets. They look like captains of the army. Nonsense, interrupted the leader of the merchants. Dragons are rich and splendid. They are as comfortable as a pocketful of money. They look like merchants. Everybody knows that. The chief of the workmen put in, You are wrong. Everybody knows that dragons are strong and tough. Nothing is too hard for them to do. They look like workmen. The wisest of the wise men pushed his glasses up his nose. The one thing that is known, and indeed I can show it to you in 47 books, is that dragons are the wisest of all creatures, he said. Therefore they must look like wise men. At that moment they heard screams and yells from outside. A messenger came running into the palace. My lords, he shouted, the enemy is coming. The wild horsemen are riding across the plain toward the city gates. What shall we do? Everyone rushed out to the gate to look. Far away, but coming closer every second, was the dark mass of horsemen. Dust rose high from their horses' hooves, and their swords and spears twinkled in the sunlight. The little fat man stood quietly, leaning on his staff. If you will treat me with courtesy, he said, I will save the city. Give me something to eat and something to drink, and speak to me politely. That is the only way to get a dragon to help you. Piffle and poffle, cried the mandarin. You are not a dragon. Everyone can see that you are only a dusty old wanderer. We have no time to give you free meals or to talk politely. Get out of the way. And then the mandarin ran home to the palace, crawled under his bed, and lay there shivering. My gallant army, commanded the captain, follow me. He turned and ran to the barracks, and all his soldiers followed him. They all hid under their beds and lay there shaking. The merchant, the wise men, and the chief of the workmen fled to their own houses, and all the people hurried after them. In a few minutes the streets were empty except for Han and the little fat old man. Well, said Han, I don't think we have much time. The enemy will be here soon. I don't know whether you are a dragon or not, but if you are hungry and thirsty, please do me the honor of coming into my humble home. With a low bow, he showed the old man the way to his tiny hut. There he gave him the bowl of rice and the cup of wine, which were all he had. The old man ate and drank, then he stood up. I don't think much of the people of Wu, he said, but for your sake I will save the city. He went out to the gate. The wild horsemen were very close. They wore fur caps and the skins of tigers. They shot arrows at the city as they rode hard on their shaggy horses. The little fat man puffed out his cheeks. He blew a long breath. The sky grew dark and lightning sizzled from the clouds to the earth. A great wind arose. It caught the wild horsemen and blew them far and wide. Those who escaped turned and galloped madly away through the storm. The sky cleared, the sun shone again, the plain was empty. The little fat man said, Now I will show you what a dragon looks like. He sprang up into the air, and his form changed. He grew taller than the tallest tree, taller than the tallest tower. He was the color of sunset shining through rain. Scales covered him, scattering light. His claws and teeth glittered like diamonds. His eyes were noble, like those of a proud horse. He was more beautiful and more terrifying than anything Han had ever seen. He flew high, roaring, and vanished into a deep sky. Han gave a long sigh and went to tell the mandarin what had happened. The people of the city crowded around to hear the tale. They could see for themselves that the enemy had vanished. They cheered Han, pinned medals on him, and gave him many gold pieces, and from that day on they called him the honorable defender of the city. But best of all, said the mandarin, we know what a dragon looks like. He looks like a small, fat, bald old man. The end. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you guys enjoyed the story.
Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to Gotham Reads for more of your favorite children's books read aloud daily.